Welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I've uploaded anything recently, so thank you for watching. As you can tell from the title of this video, this is my first round after becoming a dad for the first time. Today I'm playing at Whitney Farms in Monroe, Connecticut. I haven't touched any of my clubs in the past, I want to say like 10 weeks. You can certainly see from this shot right here. The game is slightly off. This is the longest I have gone without playing a round, so bear with me, you're going to watch some really bad golf. But this video is not going to be about how poorly I played or even the course itself. I want to talk about something that my wife and I went through together. This round was filmed on May 6th, which was actually supposed to be the week of my daughter's due date. But on February 17th, our lives had changed completely. My wife, who was 29 weeks pregnant at the time, woke me up at 5:30 in the morning and complained of severe abdominal pain. With this being her first pregnancy, we did not know what this pain was, but I do remember about how scared I was. So I drove her to the hospital. They took us directly to the labor and delivery wing. When we went into the labor room, a flood of doctors and nurses came rushing in. And within a few minutes, a team of doctors came and told us that my wife was 3 centimeters dilated and was having contractions every 5 minutes. And they were going to prepare for a preterm pregnancy at 29 weeks. So here's the thing about pregnancies, especially when you're going through it for the first time. No one ever tells you what to expect if or when a baby comes early, especially 11 weeks early. So when we received this news, it happened so fast that I think we were just both in a state of shock. My wife was still in a lot of pain, but the nurses told us our baby was still very healthy, her heart was beating, and in fact, she was having the hiccups quite frequently, which was fun to see on the EKG machine. So the doctors gave my wife magnesium sulfate, indocin, and a steroid to help our baby develop her lungs quicker. Because at 29 weeks, a baby's lung isn't fully developed, so with the steroid, it'll help her breathe once she enters the world. Now, I can't speak for my wife, but I know that I've never felt more helpless in any situation. All I could do was sit and watch as doctors worked for hours to stop the contractions. Thankfully, after 4 hours and with the help of the medication, the contractions they started to level off. The pain was less severe, and the doctors were pleasantly surprised that they weren't delivering. That afternoon, I had gotten permission to drive back home, pack up some clothes for my wife. It was the first time that I was by myself, and I was completely overwhelmed with panic and fear. I started crying harder than I ever had in my life. And I was so afraid of losing my baby girl, even though I was told that she was healthy. I was just so consumed by these negative thoughts. And I couldn't even imagine what my wife was going through. She did everything a pregnant mom was supposed to do. She ate all the right foods, saw all her doctors who told her that this pregnancy was perfect. So, how could this have happened? We will never know the answer to that. So on February 18th, that was a good day for my wife. She was pain free for the first time since this happened. The contractions had stopped completely, and the doctors were hoping to bring my wife back home on the 19th. So the doctors took her off the medication, but 12 hours later, her contractions came back with a vengeance. And in the early morning hours of the 20th, an epidural was placed. For 2 days, I watched my wife suffer through constant, relentless contractions. There was no sleep for her on the 20th and the 21st. On the 22nd, after 6 days in the hospital, the doctors had decided it was time. So on February 22nd, 2023, at 11:37 a.m., Lila Rose Connolly came screaming into this world. She weighed in at 3.7 pounds, but the doctors were pleasantly surprised to see her breathing on her own without any complications. The hard part we thought was over, but let me tell you, there are no easy parts to having a premature baby. Hours after delivery, we were able to see her at the NICU. It's sort of an unnerving sight, one that would get easier over time, but there were so many wires connected to her. She had a CPAP machine to help her breathe, She had a tube to help her eat. She had wires to monitor her heartbeat. It was like Neo from the Matrix, if you remember when he was in that egg case. So we stared at her for the first few days, separated by an incubator. Sometimes I would stick my little pinky finger in there and she would grasp at it. And even at 3 pounds, it was such a firm grip. Oh, speaking of weight, I didn't know this, but babies lose 10% of their body weight when they're born. So she weighed in at 3.7 pounds, but after a day or two, she weighed at 3.1 pounds. So that was the lowest she ever weighed. The toughest part of having a preemie once the baby is healthy is the fact that you can't take them home with you until around the 35, 36 week mark of gestation. They need to stay in the NICU where they are being monitored constantly 24/7 by nurses and doctors. So, for every day, for 5 weeks, my wife and I drove to the hospital and spent hours there. Actually, you know what? Let me take that back. I didn't go every day. I probably went around 4 or 5 days a week. My wife, on the other hand, she did not miss a day. Not one day. I can't tell her story. That's hers to tell, but I can't imagine having to go through this pain for 6 days and then to go to the hospital every day after our baby was born. It's like working 16-hour shifts for 35 straight days. It's feeding the baby, pumping every 4 hours, changing diapers, cleaning bottles. It is amazing the lengths that she went through for our baby, and I am so fortunate to have her as a wife. So, here are some other hard parts about having a premature baby. One is that I was just thrown into being a dad without actually knowing how to be one. How the hell do you take care of a baby? I had all these plans of reading books, taking classes on feeding, changing diapers, and now it's just kind of thrown into your lap, literally. Thankfully, the nurses at Greenwich Hospital are amazing, and I will be forever grateful for helping us navigate this. It is not easy changing a diaper with a kicking baby and wires covering her from head to toe, no matter how many times you practice changing one on a doll. Because we had Lila 10 weeks before she was due, we were never actually prepared for her arrival. This is another part that parents have to face. There was no crib, no bassinet, no clothes, no diapers, just an empty purple painted room. Everything has to be ordered. Credit card debt will expand. But the one thing that helps you get through all this is support from your friends and family. They helped us tremendously by gifting us everything we needed before we were able to bring our baby home. And I hope that some of you are listening to this. I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart and Aaron's heart. From DoorDash gift cards, buying extremely expensive items from our registry, it really made this process of getting ready for a baby to come home a lot easier. So after that, it's just a waiting game. From 30 to 35 weeks, Lila gained 2 pounds, and she actually started to look like a newborn baby. But just because she started to gain weight doesn't mean we could take her home. The big thing that doctors look for when they make their decision on whether to bring a baby home is if the baby can feed on their own. And by that I mean learn how to suck on a bottle and swallow milk without any issues. After 39 days in the hospital on March 31st, the doctor saw so much improvement with Lila, she was officially discharged from the hospital and we were able to take her home. The hard part we thought again was over, but now we are parents. And sleep, as you know, it does not exist. It's incremental 1 to 2 hour naps. Actually, today I think I got maybe 45 minutes of sleep, and that was followed up by an alarm clock that I can only describe as a prehistoric creature wailing out in tears. Because Lila is a preemie, there are weekly visits to pediatricians, eye doctors, dermatologists, and I can only say thank God for grandparents. Without their support, I don't know how we would have been able to do it all. So that brings us to today, and all I can say is that I really hope that no one goes through what we went through. But if you do, I hope that what I said in this video brings some sort of comfort. It is a really scary time, but babies are very resilient. Doctors and nurses are incredible, and there is a light at the end of a very dark tunnel. At some point, life will get back to normal, and you will be able to find time to do the things that you love. Maybe not as frequently as you once had, but it will be there for you. For me, golf is a great way to escape. I didn't play well in this day. I can tell by my tempo that my game is going to be rough for a while. But honestly, this day wasn't about a score. This day was about getting back to my life. A return to normalcy, if you will, with a wonderful addition to my family.